come to order. Thank you for being here this afternoon. We have a full agenda. Let's start with roll call. Joan?
Charles Long,
Here.
Chris Martinson,
Here.
Michael Shaw,
Here.
Priscilla Benali,
Here.
Kevin Mitchell.
Here.
Thank you, Joan. We do have a quorum. So let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance and New Mexico pledge. Kevin? Thank you, Kevin and board members. Let's go down to item 2, approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, motion's been made by Michael Shaw to approve the agenda for today's meeting and second by Michael Shaw. Roll call, Joan?
Motion by Shaw, second by Priscilla.
Oh,
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
okay, got it
Ms.
reversed.
Benali,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Martinson,
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Yes, thank you, Joan. So we approve our agenda for today's meeting. Let's go to recognition. Mike?
President Long, members of the board, we're excited today to have 3 groups of people here to be recognized. We have legislators, we have employees that we're going to recognize, and then several students that we're also recognizing for different things. We're going to do this. I'm going to get up and announce people's name and talk a little bit about each recognition, and then board members, if you would come up to the front, and we'll get some fist bumps or whatever it might be, and pictures at the end of each group. We'd appreciate that. I'm going to start with recognition for Impact Aid, and before I do that, I'm going to scoot over to the other microphone. As board members know, and community members are hearing more and more about some of the successes that we have had with Impact Aid this year, and actually we've had lots of successes that we've celebrated for many years. This is a multi-year effort by many different legislators, and we have 2 legislators here today that we're excited to have to recognize. These 2 gentlemen have done an incredible job behind the scenes and in front of the scenes, I guess you could say, with respect to fighting for our kids. Making sure that we find equity, more equity for our students in our part of the state and in our school district. Representative Garcia is been a very big advocate for our students, even though he doesn't live here in Gallup, but he serves part of our county, and he's done a great job at making sure that we're taken care of. When we ask for something, he is there to serve us and serve our students and help wherever he can. Senator Munoz, a Gallup resident in this area who has strongly advocated for a remedy to this issue of the state removing funding from our students and distributing that funding to the rest of the state. Probably one of the most passionate, I guess you could call it a speech or talk that was done on the Senate floor a few years ago was done by Senator Munoz that I have ever seen. And that kind of effort, that kind of passion and dedication by these legislators has put us in a position to receive millions, tens of millions of dollars back to our students here in Gallup McKinley County Schools. And I don't think people recognize what it takes up there in Santa Fe to get something done. It's very, very difficult. A lot of maneuvering is happening, advocating is happening behind the scenes, and they have always been there for us as a school district, and we just want to express our appreciation for their efforts, continual efforts, and I'm sure they'll continue to serve and help our students in the future. So we have plaques that we'd like to present to both of them. I'll read the plaque, and Mr. Munoz or Senator Munoz, yours reads the same. Representative Harry Garcia, we hereby present to you this award in recognition of your ongoing commitment and devotion to the students of Gallup McKinley County Schools, and titled with our greatest appreciation. Mr. Garcia, or Representative Garcia, would you come up? And
thank you, Mr. Superintendent, board members, Senator Munoz for being here, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor to be invited to these things. We didn't do it to get recognized. We did this impact aid for our kids. My district, I represent San Juan, McKinley, Cibola, Bernalillo, Valencia, and Socorro counties. I do not represent this part of Gallup, but the kids I do. And it doesn't matter where they're from, either from here, from Vance, from Kirtland, wherever they're from. That's what we did it for. Because a year or so ago, 2 years ago, Senator Munoz was speaking at the Capitol, and he said, I remember quite clearly, he said, our kids cannot win a race starting at the 1 yard line, everybody else is in the 50-yard line, ahead of everybody else. Our kids have been left behind for years and years and years. Matter of fact, this piece of legislation, to me, is the most important piece of legislation that's been passed in 50 years in our state of New Mexico, because it's been that long since they've been fighting to get what was ours, and it finally happened. People like Senator Munoz, Representative Lumstrong, the Speaker of the House, people that were involved in this made it happen finally. Superintendent told me when I first started to be a legislator, he said, Mr. Garcia said, if you want to stir the pot, just mention impact aid. Because nobody wanted to touch it, because the state wanted to keep it the way it was, and our kids are suffering through all this stuff. So, thank you for inviting me. I appreciate being here. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Superintendent.
next, I'd like to invite up Senator Munoz. While he's on his way up, just a quick mention of something else that Senator Munoz has helped us do that you can actually see physically right now. A few years ago, Senator Munoz provided hundreds of thousands of dollars for our school district to help improve Angelo DePaulo Stadium. So the construction, the new scoreboard, and all the seating that's happening right now that's being put in, he was the one that provided the funding for that as a legislator, and so we also want to recognize him for that and thank him for that. So, Senator Munoz.
Thank you, guys. And I first want to say is to every impact aid school district, it was all about teamwork. For 3 to 4 years, it was bringing kids up, getting the superintendents there, getting staff there, and making that change. What really surprised me this year is now we know where the difficulties were with impact aid. We got a new chair of Senate Finance, and it seemed to fly through pretty quickly after that. But I do want to thank my colleagues in the Senate and the House. I would not go remiss without them. By the time we got through this 2 or 3 years, we knew we could pass it. We just needed the governor to sign off on it. Senator Stewart carried the bill this year. I didn't carry the bill because as the new chairman of finance, it was a little heavy for me to keep track of everything. But I think Senator Stewart and Representative Lundstrom came together on 2 sets of bills that came one, and it got resolved at the end of the day, and that's what we needed. To you students here today, hopefully most of your seniors, I think I'm talking most of your seniors, right? This would have probably helped you quite a bit. You would have had better facilities, better classrooms, more computers from the time you started school until now. So for the future generations, this is really going to make a difference in what happens in their lives and what they do. But sitting here and watching you guys, and I'm going to talk about COVID because my son went through it last year, and what you guys have gone through this last year really amazes me. And then you guys are going to be scholar recipients, I think. And so, well, no matter what happened, you struggled through what you had to get done and kept your grades up. And I think that's really important in life. As you move forward, don't let anybody tell you no. Keep working hard. Keep doing what you need to do. And if you need help from me, a letter for a scholarship, help with school or something, let me know. But it's good to see you students here. It's good to see these scholarships going out, and it's good to see these awards. This is a small token, but just remember where you came from and the kids behind you that will continue to need help. So, thank you guys. Thank you, Mr. Hyatt.
Next, we'd like to invite Roxy and Stacy up. We're going to recognize, we've had several different groups of employees that we have and will continue to recognize in their efforts during this school year. A lot of people, again, as I could say something similar as I said about the legislators that we recognized a minute ago. We have a lot of employees who you don't always see what they do behind the scenes to help our students. And so today we wanted to recognize our maintenance staff.
Stacy and I both came on about 3 years ago, and with the help of the management here, they've helped us get training for our men. The main way that the maintenance department is measured by the state is called an FMAR. FMAR is where they come and they assess all of our facilities and see how we're keeping them operating for the schools. In 2018, the average FMAR score here was a 59.02 out of 100. And last year, we ended up with a 72.2. So far this year, we've had 6 assessments. 5 of them were 80 to 85.5. So we've gone from poor to satisfactory to good performance. We're shooting for outstanding. We had one that was a 69, and we are addressing it now to bring it up. And Stacy's going to introduce the men on our team. Thank you.
Good afternoon. All the men on the maintenance crew and ladies: James Bahi, Quentin Begay, Gary Begay, Donald Chapman, Bernard Daniels, Charles Du Bois, Reynaldo Gonzalez, Martina Holst, and we couldn't get anything done without her, Eric Johnson, David Jones, Donovan Jones, Alfred Lee, Albert Livingston, James Marquez, Albert Martinez, Gary Messich, Terry Messich, Kevin Mitchell, Alfred Olivar, Dana Ray, Robert Sanchez, Albert Sandoval, Ronald Sacedo, Stacy Salago, Michael Stewart, Earl Willie, Austin Wilson, Frank Yazzie, and myself, Stacy Mallon. That's it.
I am going to ask Roxy and Stacy to come get a picture with the board to let everybody know, because we typically give plaques, our maintenance staff is out there every day making sure that our schools are improving. So we're actually giving them polo shirts that they can wear as part of their recognition. And so they'll get those, and then each one of them, of course, will get a certificate signed by the superintendent and the president of the board. I am so pleased that I get to work with these individuals every single day and the hard work that they do for our students.
All right. The next group of people we'd like to recognize are our students. Again, these are students in our audience today who are being recognized for a few different things, but the first group we're going to talk about and to recognize are those who are receiving the Paul Hansen Memorial Scholarship. This is a scholarship that is provided by the district. The district raises money and through different fundraisers. And then at the end of each year, we provide a scholarship for each high school. Each high school is to nominate one student from their student body, one senior, to receive this scholarship. And this year, these are some of the students here that were selected for that scholarship. The scholarship is in the name on behalf of the Paul D. Hansen. He was a superintendent here in the district who was murdered, actually. And this is a fund that has been used in his name to support students for many, many years. And that was that was a few decades ago. So, you want to hand each one? And we have some of the students here. Some of them were not able to make it, but we'll still call their name. So if you're here, come on up, and so we can give you your award, and then we'll have you shake the hands of the board members, or fist bumps, or elbows, or whatever you prefer. And then if you would stay up here, and we'll get a picture. So the first recipient of the Paul Hansen Scholarship is Ezra L. Benali. Sorry, thank you. And if I butcher anybody's name, come tell me and I'll fix it. I apologize ahead of time. The next student is Adela Maria Sena. And from Thuru High School. Thank you. I'm a slow learner, I guess, today. Thank you. Next, from Crown Point High School, is Amaya McMillan. Don't believe they're here, but also from Rama High School, Samantha Lasansi. From Gallup High School, April Bigay. From Miamira High School is Rihanna Small Canyon. And Curry Carl Klani, and he is from Gallup Central High School. From Saigai High School, Natasha Noah Ramon. And from Navajo Pine High School, Micah Sosi. And last but not least, we have Antonio Acevedo. He is here? Oh, there you are. Our next group of students that we'd like to recognize are students that this year have received their bilingual seal, meaning that they have shown and demonstrated proficiency in Navajo or Spanish by passing the assessment test and portfolio presentations. So we're excited to have them here today. I do not have the name of the school that high school that you came from, but if you would let us know when you come up. All right. First is Daniela Martinez. Angelita Briano. Miami High School, thank you. Luz Gonzalez Resendez. What school? Miami High School also. Elbows. Next is Omar Acosta Azumendi. Miami High School. Next we have Zulamith Estrada. Gallup High School. Those were all for the Spanish bilingual seal, and for the Navajo bilingual seal, it's Cajun Cleveland. Miami High School. We'll do that one after a second. Board members, we have one more recipient of the Paul Hansen Memorial Scholarship that's here today. We did mention his name, but we're going to have him come up now. He's going to get a special picture with the board. He'll look extra special up here with you, with the five of you. Micah Sosi from Navajo Pine High School. Board member, that completes our recognitions for today. Trying to be efficient.
Thank you, board members and staff. Mike, your staff. Thank you so much for recognizing our students for their achievements. I see as a board. Let's go down to item number 3, approval of meeting minutes. We have 3
motion.
meetings.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes, Mr. President.
Okay, motion's been made by Chris Mortensen to approve the 3 meeting minutes. Is there a second?
We have to do them separately.
I'll make a motion that we approve item 3A, April 2nd, 2021, special meeting.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Chris Mortensen to approve the meeting minutes for April 2, 2021, second by Michael Shaw. Roll call, Joan?
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mrs. Benali,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen,
Yes.
Mr. Law.
Yes. Thank you, board members. Let's go down to meeting minutes B, the April 12, 2021 regular meeting minutes.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve, sir.
Okay, motion's been made by Priscilla. Is there a second? Second by Michael. Roll call, Joan?
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Miss Benali,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen,
Yes.
Mr. Law.
Yes. Thank you, board members. Now we go down to meeting minutes C, special meeting on April 26, 2021. Board members?
Motion to approve, minutes of April 26, 2021.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Michael Schaaf to approve the April 26, 2021 meeting minutes, second by Chris Mortensen. Roll call, Joan?
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Miss Benali,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen,
Yes.
Mr. Law.
Yes. Thank you, board members. Okay. Let's go down to item number 4, approval of consent agenda items.
Motion to approve consent agenda items 4A, 4B, 4C, 4D, 4E, and 4F.
Motion's been made by Michael Schaaf to approve the consent agenda items. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Chris Mortensen. Roll call, Joan?
Mr. Long, I
Miss-
have a couple of questions, please.
Okay. Before we
On-
vote.
On the,
Go ahead.
okay, thank you, sir. On the bilingual multicultural education program, the funding application, do we have someone to kind of give us a real quick rundown on this? And where will the monies be used, the funding be allocated?
Mike?
President Long, Ms. Benali, I believe Pauletta White she had to run to the hospital, and so just before the board meeting, so she's not here to discuss,
Okay.
and so I apologize for that.
I can email her, sir.
That's
Thank
fine.
you.
We can get you
Thank
the
you for that.
information.
My other question, sir, is for the Title III local plan for school year 2021 and 2022.
The same. We can get you the
Oh,
information.
shoot, that's her. Okay, sorry. I'll email her my questions. Okay, so the last question I have on D that pertains to the doctoral research request. Could someone please give us a
Sure.
quick highlight on that?
Sure. President Long, members of the board, Ms. Benali, whenever somebody does doctoral research in our school district, it typically involves looking at individual student data or data that is protected. And so whenever somebody does their doctoral research, it involves allowing access to that data just for the sole purposes of the doctoral research itself, on condition that none of that information is shared or used outside of the district. And so that's the reason why this is being brought before the board.
So, Mr. Hyatt, do you know at this time, due to our kids in the Crom Point area, that this research, or any area, I guess, in our district that has our Native American kids, do you know if she's got the Navajo Nation HRRB and approved yet?
No, I'm not certain if that has been approved or not. We've gone through this situation before where Pauletta usually helps them seek out that information, but we do not as a school district, fall under the requirement for us to receive that kind of information to release state public school data.
The Eastern Agency Council may be considering this in their June Agency Council meeting. Priscilla?
So do we need to act on this right now, or can we wait until the RRB or the Eastern Agency Council makes approval? Because I just feel we need to take the guidelines that we need, since it's a research on our students.
Is it, Mr. President, is it just kind of like a chicken or the egg kind of thing? You have to seek approval by our school board as well as the Navajo Nation Human Research Review Board as well, and so it doesn't really matter who approves it first?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You know, it's just a process of getting support from appropriate organizations or parties or whatever.
I think for myself, I would feel comfortable if they're given the access to do this research by the Human Research Review Board, by the nation, before we take action. I just don't want to, because they'll use it as, well, we already got approval from GMCS. Why are you guys not approving this? If they approve it, I wouldn't find any objections to it.
Board members, we have a motion on the floor. Roll call. John?
So,
Mr. Mitchell?
So can I please make a substitute motion, sir, to approve everything else except for D at this time?
We already have a motion on the floor.
That's why I said a substitute motion.
We have to work on the first motion first. And I would have to rescind my motion, which I don't.
If John could read the guidelines, or Mr. Long, he could review the substitute motion.
There's nothing in our parliamentary guidelines here regarding substitute motion. Priscilla?
On a substitute motion,
Let's,
on a substitute motion, we can continue with the motion with the consideration of what I said, or we can do what Mr. Shaw stated and continue on with his motion. So,
I mean, we can do the substitute motion if there's a second, and then vote on that first. So Priscilla, you're making that substitute motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Kevin. Let's vote on the substitute motion. Joan, roll call.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Benali?
yes.
Mr. Shaw?
No.
Mr. Mortensen?
No.
Mr. Long?
No. Okay, now let's go back to the main motion, which is to approve the consent agenda items. Roll call, Joan?
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Benali?
No.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes. Thank you, board members, that we passed that. Let's go down to study circle reports. Mike?
President Long, members of the board, I just have a few items I want to share today during my report. One is last Friday we had our attorneys in the Yazzie Martinez lawsuit had filed for injunctive relief regarding technology that the state should have been providing our students. The pandemic really illuminated the problem that we faced as a school district with inadequate funding for such things as technology in the classrooms, devices and those types of things that we need to not only provide a sufficient education, but during a pandemic, even to provide an education when students weren't allowed to come to school. The judge ruled in our favor, and the order has yet to come out, but in the hearing, the judge mentioned that the state would immediately have to provide high-speed internet access to students who do not have it. And so across New Mexico, in our district, there's approximately 1,500 students, despite our best efforts to provide hotspots, that still cannot sufficiently access the internet. And so one of the problems in the state of New Mexico is they have tried to make us infrastructure companies and internet providers, which we are not. We are educators. It is their responsibility per the judge that they are supposed to provide those services and that infrastructure for our students. I will provide you the order as soon as we receive it. We expect it to come in within the next week or so. There has been a lot of questions about the last day of school. As everybody knows, this year we have gone through a pandemic, which at the beginning of the school year, due to state requirements, we had to start the school year later due to concerns over safety and making sure schools were ready. During that time, the final calendar was set for August 20th through June 16th, and that was negotiated with the local union. Due to that late start, we typically start earlier in August, but due to that late start, that pushed school to June 16th. There have been a lot of concerns about ending later, but I wanted to make sure that you and the community knew as to why that took place. In addition, this year we had several snow days, 6 total. Due to those 6 snow days, we needed to push the end date until June 24th. This allows us to comply with 2 different things. One is state law. Students have to have a certain number of hours in the school year in order to qualify and be able to, I guess, again, follow the law with respect to the number of student hours a student has to participate in. And number 2, as a school district, last year we applied for extended school year funding, which equates to about a little over 3%, between 3 and 4% of a 9-month employee's salary. If we were to stop school early for some reason, we would not qualify for that funding, which would reduce people's pay. That coupled with state law requiring a certain number of hours be provided to students and a certain number of days for the extended learning program, that is why the school year ends on June 24th. Some people, there's been some rumors that Fridays have something to do with this extension. They have nothing to do with the extension of the school year. It's solely due to the state law and the funding that we receive as a school district. 2 more items. One I just wanted to mention, Teacher Appreciation Week is this week for the community, parents, students, administration, staff. We'd like to recognize our teachers. They have had a tremendously difficult year, lots of obstacles to overcome, but we appreciate their service to our students. They have gone above and beyond, and we wouldn't be where we are without them. A lot of sacrifices have been made for our teachers and other staff also, but this week we want to recognize our teachers. Lastly, I just wanted to recognize those teams. We have, I think, the most I've ever seen in recent years, how many teams have made it into the state tournament for basketball. And so I just wanted to let everybody know that there's games happening, I believe, right now as we speak, or tonight, later on. And so we really wish those teams the best, and we have some games being played also tomorrow, locally and across the state. The state championships will be this, I think, Thursday, Friday, Saturday in Albuquerque. And so with these shortened seasons, everything's get rushed and pushed together. But we're excited for our teams and hope that they all can make it to those state championships. Tehachapi girls, Thoreau girls, and Thoreau boys Gallup High boys and girls teams, and lastly, Rama girls program have all made it to the state tournament and are doing well. Congratulations. President Long, that concludes my report.
Any questions, board
Superintendent,
members, comments?
Just a simple question here.
Sure.
The state tournament, the championships, are they gonna be held in the pit or?
Yes, they told me it's going to be held in Albuquerque at the pit for those championship games only.
Mr. Long, thank you. Mr.
ahead.
Hyatt, my question is on the extension of the school year. You mentioned that, and you provide us with a good, valid reasoning why. But I am very concerned again, sir, that information is not getting to the staff at the staff level. What have you done to remedy that? Because I still get texts. I got text when that was first brought up about a week ago or a week and a half ago or something. Why is this happening? Why are they extending we thought we were ending in May, and so if you could provide us with that concern, why is it not getting down to the staff level?
Sure. President Long, Ms. Benali, we sent out an email last week to every single staff member in the school district to their emails, providing an explanation as to why the school year is ending on the 24th of June. So if they haven't received that, we need to fix their email, but if they haven't seen it yet also, then just make sure they check their email. We've also will continue to let, as we hear more concerns, continue to let supervisors continually remind staff. I think we also, we didn't do the explanation, but we also have the last day on the school calendar on our website. So if you hear any of those concerns specifically, we are more than welcome to reach out to individuals to give them an explanation. We've also put out social media posts about it so that families know and students know on Facebook, and so we've tackled it a few different ways.
Thank you. And one more, Mr. Hyatt. I've been hearing some stuff about indigenous education framework that is supposed to be, that we're supposed to send to PED. And I don't know if our department is working on that with Ms. Freeland or Paletta or that department. Do you know anything about that? And if you can we have a copy and a report?
I don't have a report on what that specifically is. I know that internally we're working on curriculum and putting it in.
Some kind of framework. It's some kind of an initiative, a framework. If you could ask and let us
Sure.
know and see if they can. If it is, we could get a report.
Sure, do that.
Kevin?
Superintendent, I was wondering, so we in on June 24th, when do we start back to school? And
Go ahead.
are we going to be having like summer school? Is there going to be enough time to be doing any type of summer school or credit makeup, makeup credits and stuff like that? Through the break, is there going to be enough time for that?
Mr. Mitchell, yeah, obviously it'd be due to the extended school year that goes into June. It gives us less time, but we are going to be providing summer school credit recovery opportunities for students. We're currently in the middle of negotiations with the union. We cannot create a calendar on our own. It is a negotiated item, and negotiations are ongoing. But we will be providing the same opportunities in the summer as far as credit recovery and those things that you mentioned for students.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments, board members? Questions you have? Notices and communications, you can read it on your own and ink them in your calendar, graduation dates, and the locations, they're listed. We go to new business 6, and board members, if we can approve new business B before the executive session, I think that would make it easier. What are your thoughts?
Ms. Long, we need to make those corrections and adjustments in the approval of the agenda, which was motioned by Mr. Shaw and seconded by myself.
So, motion in parties. What are your comments, recommendations?
Mr. President, are you talking about item 6B? Because it looks like 6A is already set up, action taken following executive session. So we're talking about 6B. I mean,
If we can put that before the executive session.
yeah, it is before the executive session already, it says. So, Mr. Hyatt, this, to restrict the parking, I assume that's just a safety issue. I live in that neighborhood, so I know it gets pretty crowded on both sides. You know, when there's people parked on both sides of the street, you can't get any, you know, fire equipment or anything through there. And it makes perfect sense to me. Is there enough parking in the parking lot where they've repaved it and over where Roosevelt was to make up for that?
President Long, Mr. Mortensen, yes, we, as you've seen down there in that area where the Roosevelt Elementary School was, is now completely parking, except for one small section where we allowed there to stay a small playground.
Thank you.
And then also across the street from the school, we expanded the parking in that area in order to alleviate the traffic that's on that street. It's very dangerous, as you mentioned, at night. Typically, when there's a graduation or an event that all the schools are participating in or whatever it might be, people are parking on both sides of Grandview, and it allows barely one lane in the middle, which is a safety concern, not only for fire crews and police and those types of things that may need to get through, but people walking and crossing that area. And so the funding to, again, to help alleviate that congestion was in conjunction with Senator Munoz's money that he provided a few years ago. And so we expect that will alleviate the problem. We also have a parking lot on the back side of Gallup Middle School, and so that's another place where we have actually 3 large parking spaces now where people can park, and it should alleviate significantly that area, and nobody should need to park in between, I think it's Logan and Filipina Avenue.
Mr. Hyatt, Mr. President, is there a plan, I guess, to prevent people from parking on the side of the road? Are we going to block it off or repaint the curb and gutter, or how does that work?
This is an approval just to request for the city to take action. How they do that, I'm not sure. They probably have a few different options, whether that's patrolling or whether that they create maybe necessary fire or emergency lanes in that area, whether that's done with paint. People also park up on the sidewalk in that area, which is not good for the curbing and things like that. So maybe there's other obstacles they put in place to help people not park in that area.
Mr. Hyatt, Mr. Long, if you could kind of explain to me where this area is?
Sure. Gallup Middle School, Grandview Avenue is the road that services Gallup Middle School and the Angelo DePaulo Stadium.
Okay.
And so it's the road that runs north-south. It runs all the way down, it's close to Aztec, right? Aztec it runs into Aztec. And so it would be just that section from where the school property is up until Filipina, which I don't know if you've ever been through there, but
So just along the stadium,
yes,
the side of the stadium on where, okay.
on the
Okay.
east side of the stadium.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Maybe we could vote to restrict the parking in front of my house, too, during graduation.
I thought you charged for parking spots.
I should.
Now, the east side of Grandview already has no parking.
Yeah, well, so we're,
Just be to eliminate on the west side of the Grandview.
right, it gets taken advantage of, and so there's things that are gonna have to be done. Like I said, I'm not sure exactly how it'll all be accomplished, but we wanna make sure that the board requests that from the city so that we can begin that process of stopping parking on that whole street.
Well, it's a nightmare, when there are things going on. No one can get through.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that we approve item 6B to request to the city to restrict parking on the South Grandview between East Logan and Filipina Avenue, please.
Motion's been made by Chris Mortensen to approve new business B, second by Michael Shaw. Roll call, Joan.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Miss Benali,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen,
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Yes. Thank you, board members.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that we excuse ourselves to executive session, item 7, please.
Augustine. Motion's been made by Chris Mortensen to go into executive session. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kevin Mitchell. Roll call, Joan?
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Miss Benali,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen,
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Yes.
151.
151. Board members,
Motion to come out of executive session.
okay, motion's been made by Michael Shaw to come out of executive session. Is there a second? Second by Chris Mortensen. Roll call, Joan?
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Ms. Benali,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen,
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Yes. Thank you, board members.
2:22.
Thank you, board members. In our executive session, we talked about the contract of our superintendent, and we also discussed a salary. And with that report, I'd like to have us go down to new business A. Board members?
Yes, Mr. President, I would like to make a motion that we approve an extension of 2 years to our superintendent, Mr. Mike Hyatt's contract, and an adjustment of his salary to $190,000.
I second.
Okay. New information, board members. Understand we can legally only do a 1-year extension. So if you can amend your motion, Kevin. Just the extension on the
Okay,
contract.
with that information, I would like to amend my motion and change that to an approval of a 1-year extension to Mr. Mike Hyatt's contract.
And the salary
Second,
remains the same. Okay, motion's been made by Kevin Mitchell.
Yes, and I say on my second.
Second was made by Chris Mortensen. To approve a 1-year extension on the contract of our superintendent and to adjust his salary to $190,000. Roll call, Joan?
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Ms. Benali,
Oh, yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen,
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Yes. Good. Okay, board members, thank you for your help.
Mr.
Yeah.
Long,
Yes.
I like the motion to adjourn.
Goshi, motion's been made by Priscilla to adjourn. Second by Michael Shaw. Roll call, Joan?
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Ms. Benali,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen,
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Yes.
2:25.
2:25, we're adjourned. Thank you, board members and staff. Thank you for being here. Joan, you going to redo the contract? Goshi, now,